Meet Genevieve Joyce. Her grandmother Vivian recently passed away and left her a large parcel of land in Europe. Unfortunately for Genevieve, many members of the family are angry about Grandma's decision. You see, Genevieve is the youngest of 7 siblings, and while her 6 older brothers wished to use the land to build a casino or a racetrack, Grandmother knew that Genevieve's dream was to build a zoo. As an animal lover herself, Grandmother Vivian had begun writing up plans for a wildlife haven, and who better to succeed her than her own grandchild? So, armed with a few scribbled blueprints and a desire to commemorate her grandmother, Genevieve sets out to bring her dream to life. Whispering Woods Wildlife Haven is seeing quite a bit of success under its young leader Genevieve Joyce. Armed with her grandmother's blueprints and a love of animals, she's ready to turn this piece of land into a zoo her late grandmother would be proud of. She does, however, have one person to contend with: Jonathan Vaughn, the executor of her grandmother's estate and a close friend of Vivian Joyce. Though he's more worried about the numbers, he's also keeping a watchful eye over Genevieve, and due to his loyalty to her grandmother, wishes to help her in any way he can. Enter Wesley Parsons, Jonathan's nephew. A fresh graduate of zoological school, Wesley wants to make a name for himself in the world, but is having a tough start. With a signed agreement and a small pay cut, he becomes the head keeper of Whispering Woods. A little bit of nepotism never hurt anyone, right? While Genevieve has her sights set on a grand entrance to the zoo with a plaque honoring her grandmother, he dreams of working with one specific species, the jaguar. Will this zoo see both of their dreams come to fruition? Only time will tell. With the entrance to the zoo more or less completed, Genevieve Joyce, along with the rest of the team at Whispering Woods, is looking forward to livening up the space with some more animals. Or really, the animals that accidentally came with the land. Once an old farm, the few sheep, cows, pigs, and single donkey that remain on the land need a new space within the zoo, and Genevieve plans on a petting zoo. Jonathan Vaughn, the zoo's accountant, isn't too sure about the profits associated with this petting zoo idea, but estimates that the restoration of an old stone barn on the property shouldn't break the bank. Wesley, the zoo's head keeper, is disappointed the animals aren't more exotic, but everyone's gotta start somewhere. Meanwhile, Antonio the mechanic gets down to business researching some rustic pieces that will hopefully give guests a real farmhouse experience, and Imogen, the head vet, begins research on the zoo's newest residents. Whispering Woods recently renovated an old stone barn on the property to give a new home to the few sheep, pigs, Highland cattle, and donkey that had been left behind. The petting zoo is a much bigger hit than anyone expected, and Genevieve is excited to make it even more of an attraction. To round out the animal selection, she plans to introduce some alpacas and goats, as well as another friend for Dahlia, the donkey. With the zoo growing, more staff have been hired to join Imogen, Antonio, and Wesley, and Jonathan Vaughn is becoming a little antsy about the zoo's funds. What roadblocks might the zoo hit today? Only one way to find out. The petting zoo at Whispering Woods is bustling with visitors. With the addition of goats, alpacas, and a little food court recently, there's more traffic than ever before. But there's still one animal to rehome. A group of Sussex chickens need a new chicken coop. Coupled with some greenhouses to aid in feeding the animals and a corn maze that's sure to delight guests, the petting zoo is nearing completion. The area has turned out much larger than Genevieve expected, however, and she's not sure if people will be willing to walk all that way just for petting zoo animals. Antonio steps in with the brilliant idea to put in an old-fashioned steam train around the perimeter, giving guests a break and opportunity to see the animals from a different perspective. Jonathan thinks the finances can handle this expensive investment, provided ticket prices are set accordingly. The recently completed petting zoo at Whispering Woods is a hit with visitors, and the staff can't complain either. The only thing they can complain about is how far away the staff area is, but Genevieve has a plan up her sleeve for that. In the meantime, new hires are working hard to welcome guests to the wildlife haven. One of these hires is Charlotte Baker. She's also volunteered to be the editor of Whispering Woods' magazine, the first edition of which you can find in the description below. With more people learning about Whispering Woods, perhaps our headkeeper Wesley shouldn't be too surprised when he is asked to make a trip out to a nearby farm where an older gentleman is caring for 2 foxes. Brian Tomlinson, animal lover, explains that he found them abandoned in the rain and took them in for the night. However, he thinks they would be much more comfortable at a facility like the Wildlife Haven, and Wesley agrees. Once the foxes are stronger, they'll need a comfortable new home. Whispering Woods is seeing a lot of foot traffic on this sunny day, and Genevieve Joyce couldn't be happier. The alpaca orchard thrives, the chickens multiply, and the train ride is an unexpected hit. While Jonathan thinks the Haven could be doing more to profit, the staff are generally happy about their workload and the new staff area. However, 2 foxes remain in the quarantine zone brought in by Brian Tomlinson, a man living in an old cottage near the zoo. With the weather turning colder, it's time to give these rescues a forever home. Whispering Woods has grown quite a bit since its inception, at least on one side of the property. With money continuing to roll in, Genevieve Joyce decides it's time to start developing the left side of the land, which has so far remained untouched. Plans for an English-style pub and restaurant are drawn up, and the idea of a park is floated by some of the staff. Then Wesley Parsons is notified of a pair of orphaned deer whose mother perished in a road accident. Almost simultaneously, Imogen Chen receives word of a young buck injured by a hunter. The stars seem to be aligning, and it seems ground will be broken on a walk-through enclosure where guests can watch deer frolic about, and perhaps even glimpse swans gliding across the lake. Whispering Woods continues expanding, with Genevieve Joyce forging ahead, enclosure after enclosure. Some of the staff might say she's getting ahead of herself and biting off more than she can chew, but new animals in need of a home continue to arrive at the Haven. The deer and swan walkthrough is already popular despite its barren state, so the first order of business is turning a flat plain into a magical meadow. Imogen Chen confirms that the injured buck from last week is healing quickly, which means an enclosure for the red deer is in order. In the meantime, Wesley Parsons decides it's time to try his hand at some habitat design, with the arrival of the first pheasants, gifted by a zoo in Poland as part of a breeding program, and a big step in the Haven's conservation mission. Whispering Woods is growing at a rapid pace, with the visitor count rising every day and more zoos reaching out for partnerships and breeding program requests. As always when things are going well, almost too well, that's when tragedy strikes. The butterflies in the gardens suddenly drop dead, and Imogen Chen suspects foul play, concentrated insecticides most likely. The Haven is temporarily closed, and after a rigorous investigation into all of the staff, it's determined that the threat came from outside the Haven's walls. As part of damage control, Genevieve Joyce reaches out to an old friend and ex-girlfriend of one of her brothers. A biology teacher, Anna Kingston, has always had an interest in zoology. Though hesitant at first, she agrees to take on the title of Director of Education and Conservation for the summer to help Whispering Woods get back on its feet. With the zoo closed, finances are dwindling, but the staff continue for the sake of the animals. Whispering Woods is in recovery. After an unexpected blow to the butterfly garden and the subsequent closure of the zoo, the Haven's finances aren't looking great. Until that is, the anonymous donation. Genevieve Joyce is relieved to say the least, but Jonathan Vaughn is reluctant to use the funds without more information. The arrival of more rescue animals puts the staff in a tough position. Take out a loan to house the Lynx additions, or use the mystery money to construct a new facility. Anna Kingston, the zoo's new Director of Education and Conservation, argues that the unanticipated gift will allow the Haven to reopen its doors and replenish its finances. Besides that, she has a sneaking suspicion about where the money came from. The staff take a vote and, outnumbered, Jonathan agrees to use the donation. Construction begins, working hard to welcome you back to Whispering Woods has reopened its doors to the public once more, much to everyone's relief. Genevieve Joyce is overjoyed to see people learning about the animals being rehabilitated once more, and Jonathan Vaughn is excited to see money rolling in again, and not just out. But of course, there will always be more injured and orphaned animals to save, and Wesley Parsons isn't about to give up on them, even if the bank accounts are running low. With rewilding efforts blooming in both urban and rural locations, specifically reintroducing beavers, animals are unfortunately more likely to get harmed, by accident or on purpose. Due to the recent acts of anti-environmentalist groups, Anna Kingston wants to open a new exhibit showcasing the wonderful work beavers do as a keystone species in creating extensive wetlands that house vast amounts of biodiversity. However, a wrench is thrown into these plans when an injured raccoon arrives at the Haven, having escaped its illegal containment as an exotic pet. And to make matters more interesting, it is delivered to the zoo's doorstep by Arthur Joyce, one of Genevieve's brothers. Whispering Woods is ready to expand Predator Ridge, but first, Genevieve has a few family matters to attend to. Unfortunately, Dahlia the donkey has passed away and the whole zoo mourns her loss, including the staff's newest addition, Arthur Joyce, Genevieve's brother. Having apologized for the family feud over the land left to Genevieve by their grandmother, Arthur is looking to make things right by supporting the zoo financially. Is this a blessing in disguise, or is it a wolf in sheep's clothing? Whispering Woods is so close to officially opening Predator Ridge, and just in time as cooler weather approaches. It also means it's time to say goodbye to the migratory butterflies, and the Haven is celebrating with an all-ages butterfly release event. Anna Kingston, the zoo's educator, hands out education kits to the youngest children, while Genevieve Joyce collects opinions and votes about animals guests would like to see in the future. Meanwhile, Imogen Chen and Antonia Garcia are hard at work designing new aviaries for a host of injured birds arriving from another zoo. They can't be released to the wild but could make for amazing ambassador species. And Wesley Parsons, along with the unlikely company of Arthur Joyce, wrangle a pair of wild boars terrorizing a playground. They will be much safer here. Whispering Woods is getting ready for the grand opening of Predator Ridge, the newest section of the sanctuary where rescued European carnivores get a second chance at life. Genevieve Joyce is so excited to have everyone along for the ride, and her main staff team, Jonathan Vaughn, accountant, Imogen Chen, head vet, Antonio Garcia, chief mechanic, Wesley Parsons, main zookeeper, and Anna Kingston, director of education and conservation, are more supportive than ever. Along the way, the zoo also features various species of deer, the Vesant breeding program, and a rewilding exhibit featuring beavers and raccoons. Under Kingston's direction, new education stations have been set up, providing much-needed conservation talks about the butterflies, the Vesants, and the rescued raptors, a hit with the masses. As you join us for the official tour, you may also catch sight of Charlotte Baker, the editor of Whispering Woods' magazine Haven. She may even ask for an interview, so make sure to leave your honest impressions and reviews in the comments below. Brian Tomlinson, the zoo's neighbor and owner of that gorgeous house on the hill, has decided that retirement may not be right for him just yet. With a background in gardening and beekeeping, you may also see him hanging around to chat your ear off about pollinator-friendly plants. With that sorted, let's walk through those front gates and... I missed someone. Oh, right! Apologies, folks. We have a key member to introduce officially, and it is thanks to him that Predator Ridge exists at all. Arthur Joyce is the proud sponsor of this segment and, more recently, our jack of all trades, helping out the mechanics, the keepers, the caretakers, and the vendors whenever and wherever. We appreciate you. And there you have it, a wonderful staff, an amazing animal roster, and a sanctuary waiting for you with open arms. Welcome back to Whispering Woods, Wildlife Haven.